Okay, I am here now. Finally. Hello there. That was instant. Were you were you ready with that and waiting until I actually appeared? I can hear myself. I don't want that. Stop that. There you go. Maybe. Well, either way, I'm glad to have you. I got to turn down my own volume a little bit. I realized that the stream where I played Space Marine, the game was incredibly silent. Like, I could almost not hear it at all. Um, I thought that if I didn't have any kind of audio onto the game, essentially that it was going to be brought up. But I guess people were just happy with no game audio and just me talking. That said, you specifically were also actually in the game, so I guess you didn't really suffer from it all that much. Or maybe it was even better for you. Yeah, but I sure hope that it's gonna be a little bit better audio-wise in the future. As of right now, for example, ideally you should be hearing some music, but not too much. Just want a little bit of, like, you know, atmospheric whatever the bang. While I'm talking. A little in the background, yeah. Alright, that's good. That's the level I want. So, Penultimate, am I right? There's one thing that I realized recently, a couple days ago actually, when I was trying to change the background color, because I know a lot of people like dark themed kind of stuff, me included. And if someone were to watch one of my streams like later in the night or something, and it's one of these where Welcome Penultimate, I don't want them to get flashbanged, so I wanted to change the background color, which I heard you can. And you can on Figma itself, but this is a specific Figma board. This is a Fig Jam, which does not have that capability. I could, of course, load a big dark PNG, I guess, into it. But I think I might move this. Not now. I don't want to deal with that now. But I think I might move all of these things over to a Figma board that has that functionality. Not just because of that, but also because then you can actually have hyperlinks. I will try to arrange it and have everything the same, but you know, also with arrows. But then actually, if I have like something like a hyperlink, then you can click on it and you actually get brought to that window. That's something that I heard Figma can do, but not this thing that I'm using, which is, it's alright. Anyway, for now, we can discuss as you are here, and I don't have to just decide things entirely by myself. We can get into essentially anything that you would like, if you want to be that involved. But as for combat, I've thought about it the last couple days. There's nothing much like nicely visual I can do for it right now, I guess. But I was thinking of just giving you two actions. Two actions that you can do on your turn. Fairly simple. And the reason for that is because I have playtested it with two actions before. It feels or felt back then like a nice balance, not just because of that, but also from other games that I've played TTRPG wise. But I think it's worth noting how these actions work, or like how much you can do with an action. I don't want it to be unnecessarily complicated for now. Of course, complexity can come through like later stage stuff that you can get as a character. But in the basic level, all the normal stuff is one action, and you can do two actions. Two actions sounds alright. I'm using the same for Nutharia. Yeah, I think it's just very down to earth. You can do more than one thing usually, but also not too much. That said, and this might be a point of contention for, well, depending on who you ask, I guess. I am having movement be an action. It doesn't sound necessarily very special, but depending on, yes, that's what I just said. Movement would be an action. So you don't just have free movement on your turn. Moving also takes an action. So yeah. So if you have a guy, let's see, we do have some range things still here. Sure. If you have a guy, in this case, of course, it would be a little bit unfortunate, but you know that's just how it is, positioning wise. If you want to hit a guy, and he may still just be one out of range, then you have to kind of use one action to move to get into range, and then the other action would be used for your melee attack. Now that example specifically, I could already comment on a little bit more because, of course, there's going to be lots of varying attacks you can do eventually if you learn them for your weapon type. For example, like a lurching attack or something where you move one tile towards the enemy as you do the attack. That would be something that I already have in mind for you to be able to do, again, if your character learns it. So this example would be like remedied by that a little bit. But yeah, movement would be an action, so you can just double move as well. As of right now, I don't have any plan of limiting an action to once per turn. I'll of course have to see how that works, or if there's anything that doesn't work about it. Hey, Blaze, how you doing? Hope you're well as well. Oh, I didn't actually, Death Creeper, I hope you're doing well, too. You kind of caught me off guard earlier by commenting instantly. But no, I hope both of you are well, actually. Also, just for your information, actually, I'm looking multi-chat through my streaming software, and I didn't address it earlier. Or I didn't address it in any stream beforehand. I'm looking at the comments of both YouTube and Twitch at the same time because I'm live on both YouTube and Twitch. So now, if whenever I'm talking about a comment that you don't see, it may be because it's on the respective other page. Anyway, what are we talking about? I am right now talking about actions, but I already told the other commenter that I am very well willing to get into whatever other topic that any of you prefer. Because I thought for now I'm just going to do two actions. Again, I didn't have any fancy visual for it. I didn't mean to do that. Two actions that you have on your turn, with movement being one of those actions, and otherwise there not being really a limitation on the actions that you can do, as in like you can't do an action more than once. I know that a lot of games seem to do that for balancing or whatever reason, but no, you could do just double move because you have two actions. You could just attack an enemy twice if that's all you want to do. There's really no limitation on that in that regard. Thought as much. No, I'm good. I'll start a new job tomorrow. That's great. Feel free to share about it if you want to, of course. Don't feel pressured, but I'm very curious. I'm good. I'm good. I got some chores done today already. So I'm feeling good. I worked out. That wasn't a feel good thing. I felt like I was dying earlier, but I did that. And now I'm actually here motivated and actually have time to work on Penultimate, so I'm gonna do that. But yeah, you have to be careful with that. The potential double damage can have huge knock-on effects to the flow of combat. Yeah, that is a fair consideration. I am doing this based mostly on just one playtest that I've had some time back. In that playtest, the characters or the players were given plenty of reasons to not just attack, but of course, depending on like what the scenario is, and or how the enemies act, that might be a consideration. Good to hear. As you're probably aware, I graduated about a year after you did. I've switched for a job since. You're starting as a junior developer. That's fantastic. I'm really glad for you. I know my general tone of talking is not the most enthusiastic usually, but I am really happy for you. This industry is brutal, brutal to find a job in. So I'm glad that you managed. Good luck with that position as well. You know what? Nah, I don't actually feel like getting into my own job search thing. I was for a while. As of right now, not so much. The excitement is palpable. Yeah. Yeah. The industry. Ooh, gotta take a sip of water real quick. Ah, yeah, the industry. Ooh. Anyway, tabletop RPGs, right? Uh, you know, having design knowledge, but not necessarily much of a artist or engineers to fall back on, totally didn't play into my decision to make a TTRPG at all. Now that isn't to say that I'm just doing it because of that, as obvious as the sarcasm was, but no, I'm actually I love TTRPGs and I want to do this either way, but it was a good argument to help. No idea what you're talking about. Totally not the same here. Yeah. No, I mean this is the great thing about this. I don't actually, well, artist skills will be good, of course, to like make art and make nicer visual representations of stuff. And engineers not needed much at all. That said, of course, people who like numbers are always useful for this either. But yeah, no, hey, that's what I got a whole community for. Hey, but yeah, no actions. You got two actions on your turn. What I'm still not entirely sure about is stuff outside of your turn, because originally I thought, of course, it's reasonable to limit how much you can do outside of your turn. But in Penultimate, what we've established basically last time I streamed about this is that when you get attacked, you do make an active choice. And you do, you try to evade it or you try to block it in at least averagely, usually. Maybe other options may appear at some point, depending on what else still happens. But that's like the usual two options. And in other games, being attacked is more of a passive thing. So you don't necessarily always need to do something for it, but then actually doing something is limited to like a once until your action comes back around or your turn comes back around. Here, with these things being very much an active thing, I'm not sure how much or if I want to limit that. Say you only have one reaction, I guess, in between your own turns. Should you then only be able to try to react to one attack that's attacking you, and the others you just have to face tank? That doesn't sound exactly right to me. So that's a question, isn't it? Hey Zen, how are you doing? I hope you're also having a great day and also not dying too much of the heat. Defensive actions could go multiple ways. Lay it on me. Um, oh, yeah, you're right. No, that would actually be good. Is there some way that I can do that right now? I very much doubt it. I don't know exactly how I would do that. While you are talking about it, I will look real quick. Surely I can't just very easily do that, right? No, no, I cannot. But that is actually very good thing to add. Yeah, I actually haven't put very much thought into things to add to my streams to make them better in general. But no, what Blaze recommended over on YouTube was to actually have just the multi-chat essentially on stream itself, so you all can see each other, even if you're chatting on different platforms, which is a very fair point. I will definitely do that. I don't think it's something I can just do on stream right now. But that's definitely something I'm gonna note down for next stream to do. Bup. Stream. There you go. All right. As of right now, I guess I can read the different chats to each other, or I guess just read out all the different chat messages as they come in for this time. Anyway, looping it back a little bit. So, Death Creeper. Defensive actions could go multiple ways. Either do consume the same action resource requiring strategic play, or they consume a secondary action resource, see major and minor action in Neutharia, or they are always free. If you're streaming onto... yeah, that I just reacted to that already. Okay. From now on, the messages were just about the different platforms. I didn't mean to start beef. Honestly, I kind of just multi-stream because of the coverage, which I guess in this case is adequate, considering I have people who regularly watch on just one of these platforms each. Again, thank you for the suggestion. I will add that from the next stream onward, ideally. But yeah, free reactions. The thing is, I don't think I have anything against separating the reactions to being attacked from possibly other out of turn stuff, in the sense of maybe I shouldn't view them as something that you do outside of your turn, because it literally is just the mechanical response of the game that you make a roll when you get attacked of your choice. So it's not like, oh, I use a reaction, one of my very limited stuff, or infinite reactions, if that was a thing too, to defend myself. It's just a thing that happens. I think I might be okay with that, yeah. There could, of course, still be other reactions, like an attack of opportunity if someone like moves within your range, or if you're waiting for something specific to happen, like a held action or something. That will be separate then. Let me actually check. Just going to say hello over here to Hyzen again. Very nice to have you here as well, here being YouTube as opposed to here on Twitch. Crazy. I do not use Twitch out of principle because Amazon is worse than Google. That is... That's a discussion. That's a loaded discussion. On the topic of actions, YouTube does feel more exposing. That's it? I'm not sure. It's not even just me trying to like stay out of frisky topics. I generally wouldn't even know. I feel all right. Well, you can come back over to Twitch if you feel better over there. But yeah, what if it's something like this? Actually, an out of turn action as well? Did you need it? No. Of course. Yeah, I should talk more about it. Sometimes when I have like very erratic trains of thoughts, I just stay quiet, and then you probably have no idea what's going on, and then I just do like now. But what I was thinking about a minute ago, a couple seconds ago, was kind of just to have a parallel to the like 2/3 that I have going on in dice throws, which are like one of the main actions that you do in the game, where you have 2 of your skill and 1 dice of your core, where you have possibly 2 actions on your turn and then 1 action out of your turn. But I'm not even sure if this is necessary, or if, you know, the parallel, I guess, would be neat. but I don't think that's needed. Sorry, but I should really get back to work. Have fun. Thank you for stopping by anyway. Really appreciate it. And good luck at work. As for actions, I'm thinking if you want to do something out of your turn, maybe looping back to what Death Creeper said a bit ago with strategic play, maybe you might just want to hold on to an action specifically. Where, like, yeah, I could attack this person, this enemy in front of me twice, or move there and then attack them. But maybe you want to actually hold on to one of your actions to wait for something else. Like a held action, I guess. Now that could get convoluted if people just start holding their actions. 2 or 1 or both. Or none. But yeah, if we treat defending yourself as not an action at all, it's just a thing that happens. Let's see. Okay. I feel like to continue this on, I should also get into initiative. That is, if you want me to get into initiative right now. I think this would actually be the point where if you want, I can actually get into something else. That's the beauty of this interactive stuff. Because if I think about initiative, I might just be stuck on that for a little bit. If that's even something you want to talk about. If any of you are even still here. But yeah, I'm gonna take another sip. It is warm. Where I am right now, it is warm. Came in a bit later, so I have no idea what we're doing today. Right, well, we're working on Penultimate. That's basically just all that is given. Because it had come up last stream, I was talking a little bit about action economy. And what is an action, how many actions do you have, and all that. But I don't need to talk about that, because there's lots of other things that I could technically get into. That are just as relevant to the game. So it's kind of up to all of us. Yes, it's not just me, it's you as well. You are the penultimate. So if there's anything that interests you more, I can get into that instead, or as well. Let me just about now actually write this out though. Okay, defense was down here. This not necessarily to show you, but I'm kind of looking at it myself for reference. Because this is some ideation that I did towards initiative before. Oh, that's okay. Not very good with complicated mechanics and just want to think. Well, a fair point. I think most of this is fun still, but world and setting, or even character creation stuff, races. Well, if you're interested in races, I did actually do cover that one a little bit before. I didn't cover them in a video yet, but I did go over them while just like working on it by myself and a little bit on stream, I guess. But I can talk about it. This is on the Fig Jam, so theoretically you can, well, you could theoretically come in here yourself actually, and look at it at any point and read over it, where I'm not just frantically moving the camera around to read it. But the races is one of the things that I've been. Was it the races? Not sure. There were a couple of things where people commented that I seem much more ecstatic about it than some of the other stuff in the game. But the races, at least for now in Penultimate, are fairly basic, truth be told, comparatively to some other fantasy games, where we have the kin, where we have right here, this is maybe just for, I guess, your own like creative storytelling or imagination a little bit more interesting. There's the visual reference. The kin are all, I want to say, one big family, essentially. There's very tall ones, very short ones, there's very lanky ones, and very stocky ones, and there are, I guess, standardized names for them in the extreme corners, so to say. So the Gokin are very short, the shortest there are, and they are pretty lanky and have pointy ears. On the very opposite side of that, the Urakin, they are very stocky, very big, very tall, and have round ears. That is, it's not the most important like denominator, I guess, but it is some physical aspects. And if any of these sound familiar to you, that is because they are basically, I put this here because I wanted to be transparent about it, I guess. These are basically just stand-ins for the very basic races that you might know from any kind of fantasy media. The reason why these are so basic in comparison is that this would allow a DM or GM, sorry, not Dungeon Master, Game Master. This is not Dungeons and Dragons. Would allow a GM to make other races that you might find in the world as a player much more alien and different and more outlandish, while still giving stuff to like express yourself with, and of course have some visual variety, I guess, if you want to make art of your characters, which a lot of people in this space like to do. There's, of course, I failed to mention the Hukin, which are very much basically humans. In the terms of how stocky, small, big, lanky, anything, they are in the middle of the pack. They can also vary wildly, of course. You could theoretically, I guess, drop your character pin somewhere in this map, essentially. It's not like, oh, you're a Darkin necessarily, but you have maybe your character pin. Can I make this thing smaller? You have your pin like maybe here, and your character is more on the stocky, shorter side, but not maybe as much as what you would usually call a Darkin. And usually I did with little air quotation marks, but I don't have a camera. Or your pin is like here, which means you are a little bit taller, but can literally have it anywhere here. It's not, ooh, like you're an Urkin, you're a Golkin or anything. You are literally wherever you want to drop this thing. This one, on the other hand, very similar, but I do, just for how the mechanics worked out, have to note that these were moved around a little bit. This is what it basically means stat-wise. So if you are an Elkin, which I didn't even talk about before yet, Elkin, they are very tall and very lanky. They are essentially the elves. They are very agile, but they don't have a lot of fortitude. So like, ooh, they can like move with a lot of dexterity base-wise, but they might not be able to withstand a hit as much as a Urkin would. They are also usually very, how do you want to say it? Mind like oriented. They build very like grand things, civilized, or not that the others would be uncivilized, but they hold themselves to a high value as well. Like elves essentially. But they are not the most present in a situation. Like in a social interaction, they might be more easily, I guess, overpowered in that way. And the Urkin, which physically are not too dissimilar, they are much more bulky, but they're also very tall, are basically the opposite of them in some other ways. They are much more bulky, they can take a hit better, they are less agile, however, they have a lot of presence in social interactions and things like that, but maybe they're not like as sharp. Intellectuals, yeah, sure, if you want to say it like that. The thing is, I don't want to say that anything with a like lower mind is dumb, but could be. But yeah, this is also because the character creation fully, like the process isn't like fully fleshed out yet, but this would be the first step. This is essentially where you actually like pick what your baseline is in the beginning, but you will then be able to actually change the values. What I mean with is you can change your core still. So you might start, if you just want the fantasy of being a human in a world full of creatures that aren't exactly human, You can start like this, but if you then don't like the fact that you are just very much average in everything, you don't have to be, because as part of the character creation, you are going to be able to change your cores still. These aren't set in stone. These aren't like, ooh, every Elkin has this stat block and every Urkin has this stat block. This is just the baseline, what you would start with during character creation. I want to stress that because I don't want to shoehorn them into anything. I want to, of course, provide like reference for stuff, but I don't want to force them into any kind of stereotype necessarily. That's why I'm, I guess, so careful with my language. But again, this is also all laid out a little bit more in here, and I will continue this line onward to go with full-on character creation. Being intellectuals doesn't necessarily make others dumb, to be fair. No, it doesn't. But, you know, there's some people who might feel that way. So, 1 second. Well, I'm thinking on that for a little bit. Right, I'm back. But yeah, that's the first step of character creation and what the races look like, at least in the beginning. Now, what do I feel like getting into? Oh yeah, I was looking at this thing on my other private tab. It's a little bit too complicated. I don't like this one that I agreed on. Well, I didn't agree on, that I tried to settle on. Because there's two initiative systems that I liked a fair bit. Which was to me just... Actually, honestly, I like the way D&D does it, I gotta be honest. Where you roll something, if you have a modifier for it, like you would in D&D, you add that, and then people go in the order that they rolled. Lancer doesn't have that at all. You literally start with the players, and they agree on who goes first. Then the enemy goes, and then the last player who went will always vote on which player goes next. And this just alternates until every combatant had a turn. And I did experience that is like fun, for sure, and tactical. But I'm not sure if that's the most realistic representation of how a combat would turn out. Or does it have to be realistic how a combat would go? No. I can say that like that already. Because in real combat, with many people, a lot of people would go at the same time. So I'm kind of massaging my temples a little bit thinking about it. I've played Baldur's Gate recently for the first time, and something that is very much similar to D&D, of course, because it's Baldur's Gate. But one thing that they do in that game, apparently, you can just go at the same time as your friends, not in a specific order, if there's no enemy that has initiative in between you. And I really like that. So if you have initiative 10 and your friend has initiative 8 and the next enemy only has initiative 6, whatever, you don't necessarily technically have initiative at the same time, but because there's no enemy in between you, you go at the same time. Yeah. That's I very much took way too long of a way to try and explain that. But yeah, I really like that, so I might use it. Alternation is I guess good to keep the thing like going and flowing, and I do like the way that Lancer lets you I guess agree among your team, and it also keeps everyone invested because if they talk about who gets to go next and they strategize like that, that involves people even if they're not on that turn. But I'm thinking of just making that a possible like ability later on, and the standard is similar to D&D. Mhm, mhm. Enable some great combo and teamwork potential IMO. I agree. Now, of course, I would have to think about what people can actually do with that knowledge of going together. Maybe attacking an enemy at the same time gives them some kind of disadvantage, unless I want to actually just lay out specific actions you can do like together. Or it's one of those things where people, use their creativity and the DM decides. Like, ooh, we both run up to this ledge and one person boosts the other one up. Um, Stuff like that. Thing is, I'm not sure if I need to worry about it. That's what I'm saying. I think about it, and I think that I don't need to think about it. Tag team moves, yes. I'm not even sure if I need to concern myself with that. Probably good to put some thought into it at some point, but right now, don't think so. Agreed. To be fair, I'm always afraid of chaos thanks to my D&D trauma. Yeah, but we love some D&D trauma. There will be chaos regardless, since that's just in the nature of the players in the game. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, kind of going in circles to like other stuff that we've had before. Now there is a thing. Yeah. Now there this is a thing. Kind of a sidetrack. Sorry for the whiplash. I don't mean to break your neck. But the game right now does not have any kind of initiative bonus, and I don't want agility to be a god stat. Agility, of course, how like quickly you move and everything, off the top of your head, very like obviously, usually, is the stat to go to for stuff like this. But I don't want it to be dominating the character sheet. It already has the evasion skill, So one of two ways of avoiding like damage in combat is already like agility got that going for it, right? Blocking something. I'm listing stuff with my hands and fingers right now, but you can't see it. Blocking something. Wait, can I? I gotta. Where's the pen? It's right here. There you go. So you got uh, evasion already, and then blocking, which there's no thing on here right now. Depending on the weapon type, also uses agility. Because blocking, essentially, I call it blocking right now. Maybe parrying is just a better word for it. But blocking, as you all, of course, remember, is the alternative to evading when you're trying to defend yourself against a hit, meaning you use your own weapon skill to basically like swipe the attack out of the way or like just block it, interpose your weapon in some way. Which just depends on the weapon skill. But a lot of weapons can or do use agility as well. So if it does, then it's also agility. And then, so that's already basically the entirety of the defense, or like I guess 1.5 out of 2 things that are very important in combat that depend on agility. Then right now, like a plus. I don't know why I drew it like that. It's a minus. Get out of here. Plus speed would also be determined by that. So, like, how far you move, as of right now, it's determined by that. Of course, it can change, though. But how far you move, also determined by agility. So, if there's any kind of initiative bonus, which I think probably there should be of some way, unless you really just want it to be random who goes when, if you roll for it, that is, would also depend on agility at least. Subject to testing and further changes since the combat system isn't fleshed out. Yes. No, I mean, yeah, of course. I'm not saying that this is like a definitive or like it's gonna stay like this, but like as of right now with the like going theories of things, this is what it would be, and that's a lot. Fortitude has there's not a lot of space. I gotta like look at the stream to see how much space I got. Fortitude is of course health, but you know if you like have the agility, then your health isn't going to be affected. Maybe attacks. Maybe attacks. Right? You still you following me? And then mind, of course, is like focus. And magic. There you go. Presence is also, this, and also magic. A lot of stuff that would be on agility specifically. But what I thought originally, instead of just having like, because you got to stay with me here. The reason I started this rant was because if you roll off to see who goes when in initiative, if that's the way we do it, I would think it's reasonable to have some kind of modifier on it. But also, it might not be just agility that you should put the modifier on. Maybe I think you should have it on mind as well, because what it is about is this pen isn't really the best. Initiative. Reaction. So oh, this is off screen. I just saw that. Anyway, so what I mean is that I would think how fast you can go, unless you hold your action in combat, is how fast you can react. And that to me sounds like it would be a combination of how agile you are, but also like how how good you like observe, because you have the observation like skill as well. So like you need to notice things to react, but you also need to be agile to react. So think of if you want to like combine these two, but then agility is again just really powerful of a stat already. Mind is more active perception and observation of surroundings. Agility is the actual reflex. Yeah. Well, I mean, I say yeah. Does that mean you're like agreeing with my reasoning, or should you, was it you saying that whatever initiative bonus that you could get, if we add one, is just based on only agility? Sometimes reflex is exactly that, a reflexive action that happens without conscious input. Right. Delete some of the stuff. Kind of just thinking in my head. I mean, where else would I be thinking? Could of course make it. I'm not sure. Could just also have it entirely random. I think I'm gonna have to test it. What do you roll for it? Hmm. Also, of course, just make it entirely detached from these. And the die isn't like tied to you as a person, and again, just representation of combat mechanics. Like how just now had a silly little like tangent in my head where I thought about if you just have a detached roll, just an initiative roll that doesn't have anything to do with your cores or anything. Where you roll a single dice. Everyone rolls a single dice, and it's the same dice. And just have it like be the next best one that is like enough to fit the amount of combatants. But that is unnecessarily complicated, and that might just be a what's it called? It could just be a D20. Could also just be a D12, I guess, or a D10. But then there are definitely combats that have like 10 things in there. Rarely though. So I might just use like, or have the game use the D12. But the D10 feels better. The D10 is just more round. Not more round. It isn't more round at all, shape-wise. I know I get stuck on like very stupid things. D12, why not? When's all roll single D12. Now I'm not sure how I feel about it. I know this is top tier stream content. I'm just breaking my head over this too much. Right, for now I'm just gonna do a 2-die thing between agility and mind core dice. And I took the speed out of the agility derivative. Mm-hmm. I'm entirely sure where I want to put the speed. I know it's a side tangent, but hey. So, a little bit of a random question, but what would be a benefit of being short as opposed to being tall? That is a real question. Because I'm thinking of if I'm taking the speed out of agility, out of like just being straight up agility, because we could theoretically be agile without being fast as well. Also, I don't want the agility to be a god stat. Agility. Speed could be just static or be somewhat related to where you put your thing, your pin on the I guess the race chart. And having long legs could make you a little bit faster. But then what would be the opposite effect? What would be a mechanical upside to being short and giving up having longer legs? That is the question. I know it's not important right now, but I kind of put myself into it. All right. So the initiative is you G and mind. Dice. Right. I'm gonna have to make this nicer and clean it up. So, magic effects. Kinda done thinking about initiative. In fact, I'm going to... Oh, this is... can I... No. I'm going to leave you with this for a second while I take a quick short break. Okay, well, I'm back. I'm back, and oh god, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm back with some renewed energy as well as a drink, which I can provide you with one of the best sounds of modern society. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that. Non-alcoholic, of course. Anyway, I'm back. And if you happen to have been looking at the screen, you will know that I am looking at some magic. Now, magic has been the topic of my most recently uploaded video. How long ago that's been uploaded, I don't want to get into, but hey. I gave a little bit of a in-world and lore kind of explanation, and the idea is that you can basically learn different effects, or learn to rather attempt different effects from magic, or for magic, and modify them with some stuff, which is very much open, and every modifier would, you know, allow you to make things more complicated and more specific. But depending on the effect itself, how like high level it is, and the amount of modifiers, it would be harder to successfully cast, and every modifier that you add would essentially allow for a new way for it to fail. Very risky and all that, but very, very powerful if it does work. Now, there is, of course, a thing of how much do I set some of these things in stone. Specifically being like damage of things. And for example, if you use fire to set someone on fire, does that always use the same, do the same amount of damage? Or if you have an intensity modifier and try to slap that on fire, how much does that increase it? As well as how to actually use these effects, and if it works the way that I would ideally see in my brain here. The problem is, I think it needs to be tested out to see how other people like feel about this, slash if it makes sense to them. And ideally I would like people to like be creative with it as much as they want. But then of course the DM needs to know what to do with it. Or if the people aren't maybe feeling that very creative, are they gonna get a lot out of the magic system at all? There's a lot of variables in place. One thing that I thought about most, or that I thought about the most, but that I considered the most, was actually something that I think I had brought up in the Penultimate server. Let me actually look at it. Yeah. Where every effect would have its own focus cost. Now, not only would every effect and modifier have their own focus cost, I think, and hear me out, this might be like very crazy. That focus cost could maybe also be used for the DC. It's essentially. So if you have a spell that costs 10 focus, maybe you actually just have to roll above a 10 to do it. That would need a lot of math to actually look over the different things and see how easy / impossible it would be. Maybe this would help guide some things into place. If we look at any dice, sure, 3d4, then at least yeah, if you have 3d4, it would be like 50% chance to roll an 8 or above, right? That means a spell that costs 8 focus would be like 50-50 chance of succeeding. Now is 8 a lot? The way I thought about the way you get focus earlier, yes, it would be a lot. Now then, that would put into question, how do you determine the amount of focus that you have? Because if you have possibly a large amount of focus, then that recontextualizes the costs and makes it more reasonable, if that's even something that I need to or want to have be a part of it. In earlier drafts, I had mind just essentially decide the focus in the sense of the top face of the mind die would be the amount of focus you have. That is, of course, not feasible. Way too small of an amount, because like unless anything that you try to do only costs like 1 or 2 focus, then your character will hardly be able to do anything until they have to like recharge or sleep or rest or whatever you want to call it. So how would it be best determined? That's a question. That is a question for sure. Let's see. Definitely provide some pre-built spells for people that don't want to get into the system that much. Yeah, I think that's definitely something I should do. But a spell that costs 1 or 2 focus is essentially useless as an attack. Very feasible if the rest of the magic is balanced around that. Depends on how much magic use you want in gameplay and in universe. Well, in universe, I would first of all think that not everyone can use magic. And then those people that can use magic, theoretically, again, as the video that I made on it, I think described a little bit. You are the limiting factor itself, essentially. Magic doesn't tire out. You could essentially do as much magic as possible if your brain wasn't like fried at some point. So it's really like about focus, and I think what makes sense, like if you do like just very simple effects, you could do a lot of them maybe in a day. If you do like a super like big complicated thing, maybe only a few. But how few is of course the thing. If you try to focus on being a mage, and then of course a mage means that you get like better and better and try to do more complicated things, which may be really impactful. But if they fail, and or you're out of focus at some point and you need to defend yourself, then that's that's a rip for you. So the balance needs to be tight. That is, unless of course it's just kind of going to be like accepted as a fact of being a mage that magic is like risky and you should have some sort of backup. Otherwise, you're gonna get like, I don't know, destroyed. So there's a couple of questions I guess you could ask. Oh, that's just stream elements. Okay. Yep. Mm. So 3d12 is basically as good as it gets. You have a 50% chance at 20. 50% chance at 17. 50% chance at 14. Then 11 and 8. I guess, of course, then depends. So, if you just wanted to make a sound, I guess that would be very easy, wouldn't it? And sound doesn't necessarily do anything damaging. It's just a little trick. Oh, also. Equipment and actions. So as the video suggested, having different things would make it easier to cast stuff. So what I'm thinking is, anything that you do to help you cast a spell helps you cast a spell. That could be, I guess, most simply would be gesticulation? It is the right word, right? Gesturing and everything. Sure. So, moving your hands around or waving a staff or something, that would help for sure. +1 of vocalization. Then I guess you can get a +1 for what's it called? Clothing. So you could get different bonuses, essentially, to your roll, depending on what you do. I feel like that makes sense. So that would be a it would be a +4 essentially if you had all these things. If you had a staff and you waved it around, you shouted what you're trying to do, and you have clothing that is like fancy wizardy stuff, for example, then it's gonna get a good bit easier to hit whatever kind of DC that you're trying to get to. With a minimum of 3 on any dice roll, as unlikely as that is anyway, you basically are already at 7. Now, do we want that to essentially be a auto succeed already? Let's see, 8. If you're really bad at stuff, 50% chance at 8. Of course, that is without a modifier. For like a basic thing. 93% for this. 83. Very high chance of succeeding in that kind of stuff, honestly. What if you add +4 to all of these? Yeah, 8 is already a 98% chance on the best one. 99, etc. It's basically impossible to fail if you only have an 8. So do we want the basic cost of a single effect to already be 8? It doesn't sound right though. I mean, some things should be fairly difficult to get, but of course, if you don't have all of this stuff, then it might be harder. But it would be harder. It might be. It would be. Or should it maybe... I guess rather than being a plus to your roll, it could be a minus to the DC. So we take these away. So if you have effect, sound, modifier, location. Let's say they both cost 5 focus points, right? Just arbitrarily for now. Maybe not arbitrarily, but so making a sound effect costs 5 points, and choosing the location other than just having the sound be on yourself also 5. That would bring you to 10 focus. And where is my mouse? My mouse is gone. Hello? Right, I guess I'm going to talk like this for a second. That will bring you to 10 focus. And if you then had the reduction of like vocalization, gesticulation, gear, and like clothing and equipment, that will put it to -4. So that would reduce it to 6. Now 6 is already a lot cheaper, and it would be easier to roll. Can I please have my mouse back? Hello? It's a battery mouse, so it's like sometimes it likes to die. No, I'm just gonna plug in my other mouse. Right, so small mouse goes in timeout. 10 would be at 3d4. 10 would be a 15% chance to make, essentially. 6, however, would be an 84% chance to make. If you have 3d6, that would already raise it to 95 versus the 10 being 62%. Long tab. I guess it's probably reasonable to have a kind of, how should I say, starting point and try to give all of these effects and things a cost that is balanced. It's probably going to be very hard. Especially because all these different things, you probably wouldn't be able to unlock them like immediately either. So, where do you start with that? If only I had someone here who loves numbers and math and stuff like that. What if you put the mine top times 10? Then the minimum would be 40. And the maximum would be 120. It didn't take me that long to make that math. I'm just still thinking very slowly. Thinking very slowly made it sound like it did take me that long. I'm thinking about a couple of things. Like, for example, how when I wave this mouse around enough, it creates a little waving hand. Anyway. That sounds like a lot of work that is not very interesting to probably listen to / be a part of on stream, I'm being honest. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm on a good track actually. This it took me a little bit, but I as messy as it very much still is, I like the direction that this is taking. So we have the different effects. We have the modifiers. This is not an exhaustive list, of course. A lot of this, there would be like more effects and more modifiers and possibly different schools. How the schools are arranged, that can also change, but the main takeaway is there are effects that you can do and you can modify those effects. And they have different costs. And those costs make up how much focus they take, obviously, but also possibly the DC, how hard it is to cast these spells. And then the different actions that you can take to help yourself cast is it basically means that it's going to be easier and less costly on focus as well. So yeah. One thing that I'm not entirely sure on is if this system works as well as I would like it to be, with the encouraging of letting people make something complex. If it would even allow people to do something complex. For example, like in shows or animations, whatever, you often see wizards do all sorts of like crazy, like different things. But like, for example, why wouldn't just be, I don't know, create fire location just be the most what's it called, effective thing, as opposed to, oh, I have this fire here and I bend it around and spray it and spray it at my enemies, like, you know, like a dragon's breath essentially. As of right now, there wouldn't be anything in this game that encourages that kind of stuff. You know, like just take the most straightforward way of possibly achieving your goal and then that's it, without encouraging kind of complexity in it. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that. That might be an issue for me. That's what it was about. Yeah, no, it's something that just kind of like added, or like in the middle of a tangent, I guess, mentioned a little bit. I'm not set on it, but it could be a very simple solution. With the focus costs and everything eventually possibly being very high, that just the mind die top value, but then times 10 is the amount of focus that you have. It could work out fairly well. Of course, this is also still useful for things outside of magic, so you would have to be careful with that. But yeah. No, I think I might, when I flesh this out more. Of course, a lot of playtests are needed for the game in general. I'm not even going to refute that, of course. But I think I'm going to have to do some testing specifically on magic and having people try to create cool things. You know, having people try to make wacky combinations, and if it's like encouraging people to do that. Or if people are just going to be like, create electricity location and then point at the guy and then have him shocked, rather than be like, ooh, I summon forth lightning in a sphere that moves around and strikes at things that are nearby. It would be a whole lot cooler. Would it be effective? Maybe. But it probably wouldn't be as effective as trying to just electrocute a guy, and a lot more risky because of the added complexities that you're adding to it. If you get what I mean. If you get what I mean. Like, I want the game to encourage and reward creative stuff. I'm not sure how it's gonna do it. That's my biggest concern with it right now. So I'm gonna have to think about it. And I may put that question in the server as well. If you already have an idea right now, feel free to let me know. Because otherwise I might... Because I can already tell, like, me thinking about it so much, again, it's not going to be interesting. And I'm probably going to think about it a lot while I'm doing, like, other other stuff in my life. So I might call it here for the stream, put the question in the server again, and maybe pick it back up then the next day. Next day being possibly tomorrow again. But yeah. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Yeah. Right. So I'm gonna do that. I will ideally, hopefully, be back again tomorrow. For now, I'm going to end the stream here. That is, unless I'm gonna be playing some more stuff later on stream. But no promises. I can't be sure about that. But I'm gonna stop the penultimate part of the stream for now. And going to be reaching out in the Discord. And otherwise, if anyone's here who isn't already in the Discord, feel free to join it. There should be links on it on both YouTube and Twitch. If you're new, welcome. What a stream you joined. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Death Creeper. For anyone who might be new, feel free to join in if there even is anyone new. If not, also okay. I'm going to stop it here for now. I'm probably going to be again online with this tomorrow. For now, goodbye.